Joy, Shannon, I am dumbfounded by what just happened. After the All-Star game, about 4 days before the trade deadline, this actually happened. And the harder I look at it, the worse it gets.
For whom?
I think the Sacramento Kings just might have made the worst trade in NBA history, because they just gave up a top 10 player. I know he's got his emotional roller coaster issues, but a top 10 player who has the potential to quickly mature into a top 5 NBA player.
Yes.
And in return, the Sacramento Kings got a former 4th overall pick who has never made an all-star team. His name is Tyreke Evans, and he's coming off 3 knee surgeries in the last 18 months. Really? And they also got a Buddy Hield, and I'm on record with this one. He stayed all 4 years at a school that I love and watch, University of Oklahoma. Stayed all 4 years, which is a bad sign, which is why I said he's being overrated. He went 6th overall to New Orleans and has been nothing but a disappointment this year. And I fear for him because he's going to be viewed as the linchpin in this trade. He is now going to be on a hot seat up in Sacramento he does not want to have to sit on. And I fear that Buddy Hield will further crumble under the pressure to kind of live up to being the guy who replaced DeMarcus Cousins in Sacramento.
Who's really the last guy that played 4 years of college and turned out to be great? Tim Duncan?
No, that's a good one.
I mean, if you really think about it, normally, if you're really good, you leave after your freshman or sophomore year. You don't stay all 4 years.
I'm just off the top of my head. Did Kyle Korver stay all 4 years? I'm not even sure he did, but whatever. Your point is your point. And Tim Duncan was a rarity because he was against the grain in everything he did in his life. And he said, I love college. I'm staying at Wake. But everybody knew he could have come out at age 18 and played in the NBA. And then finally, we throw into this deal Langston Galloway, who's a decent bench player, and they did get a first-round pick, but I think it's going to wind up being in the middle of the draft, about 15th overall, and they did get a second-round pick. But that's it for DeMarcus Cousins, the best big man in basketball, who is now tied for 9th in player efficiency rating overall, which is high and very good. And I must admit, I have a little bias here. I've been a fan of DeMarcus Cousins since he was at Kentucky. And before that draft, I went on record on my old show and said I would take DeMarcus #1 over John Wall. And a lot of people ridiculed me for that and laughed at that. But I think I've been proven true, even though John Wall's started to come into his own the last couple of years. I'll still take DeMarcus Cousins over John Wall. I've had one lengthy session with DeMarcus at a restaurant just randomly here in Los Angeles. We sat down and talked for a while. And I like him. I think his heart's in the right place. If you study what he's done in Sacramento, he's given a lot of time and a lot of money to charity very quietly and not gloated or boasted about it. So I think his potential is high, even though we know about the emotional issues, the trust issues, the post-game tirades, the technical fouls. I get all that. But I believe as a player that he's even slightly better than his new running mate, Anthony Davis, is, because I think that—
I wouldn't go that far, Skip.
I will, because you know what? DeMarcus is a better passer than Anthony is. DeMarcus has high-level passing skills where he could be a Tim Duncan in the right offense with the right coach. I'm not sure it's going to be immediately in New Orleans, but he's also turned into a pretty deadly three-point shooter where I trust him. He's a 36% three-point shooter. So he's got that added to his arsenal. I'm not sure that Alvin Gentry is the kind of dynamic leader that he needs at this point in his life, but Alvin is an NBA lifer who'll provide some even keel stability for him, because he's gone through 6 coaches in 7 years in Sacramento, so you got to give him that. And in the end, I have no idea why Sacramento didn't just wait. If they're going to get rid of him, which they clearly want to do, even though they've said for months now, there's no way we're going to trade him. But if they wanted to do it, they should have made it public and auctioned him off. I know there are a number of teams who just said no way to DeMarcus Cousins. But the Lakers, would they have budged maybe at the trade deadline on Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern time with Brandon Ingram? Would they finally said, we'll give you Brandon Ingram?
They seemed to be set that they were not going to part ways.
Okay, well, I would have done that. I would have done Brandon Ingram for DeMarcus Cousins. Would you?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe they would have come to their senses and done that, because I think it would have changed life for the Los Angeles Lakers.
I'd have went to the Celtics.
Okay, well, would Boston have finally seen fit to give up more of their draft pick haul that they had? have.
They got
maybe at the trade deadline, maybe they would have. So my point is, what is Vlade Divac, the GM, thinking, except that it was reported by Chad Ford before the draft last year that he loved Buddy Hield. He would have taken him second overall behind Ben Simmons. Well, I think that's insane, and I think he's going to be proven wrong because of that. So I think this has high potential to go down as the worst trade in NBA history.
When I heard about it, I was like, wow. Because basically they gave away Boogie Cousins for a jar of jelly beans, a case of Gatorade, and 6 rolls of tape. That's what they gave away. They can't make up this value. Now, however you want to view Boogie, I say he's a top 3 big man in all of basketball. He, Anthony Davis, and Karl Anthony Towns. Now, all of them went to Kentucky, and how John Calipari only won 1 national championship with all that talent, but Skip, we'll debate that another day. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, I say he's number 2. I would take him number 2 behind Anthony Davis. I think Anthony Davis is the best 4 in all of basketball.
I don't even know what big man is exactly, because Anthony Davis is more of a power forward to me, but he's 6'10".
He's a 4.
Yeah.
He's a 4.
Okay. All right.
Boogie Cousins is a 4. Karl Anthony Towns is a 4. Dang in Minnesota plays the 5 spot. So let's just say they're all bunched up in there 1 through 3. So now you get a top 3, 4 power forward in all of basketball for Buddy Hield, Langston Galloway, a first-round pick, Tyreek. Now, Tyreek, he did win Rookie of the Year in Sacramento.
So you can sort of go back to your glory days maybe, but he's 27, he's beat up, his knee is balky.
Yeah, knees don't get healthier as you get older.
I love it.
Especially once you start having knee surgeries so early in your career. But Skip, here is this. Boogie's going to have to do some soul searching because he cost himself $30 million. He could have signed a 5-year, $209 million max contract. Now the max he can get is 5 for $179. That's $30 million in real dollars that he cost himself. He's going to have to look, because you mentioned it, 6 coaches in 7 years. Look, I understand that George Karl has said some things, and I can understand how he might rub some people the wrong way. But Paul Westphal, Malone, Keith Smart, Ty Corbin, it can't be all the coach's fault, Skip. It can't be.
I got it. Nope, I hear you, but I still say he was in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong franchise, because the owner's dysfunctional to me, and I think Vlade has proven to be dysfunctional over time.
This was a terrible deal for the Kings, because you can't get – who in their right mind trades a top 10 talent? Who does that? No matter how dysfunctional he is, and I get it. Now, they say they were in a rebuilding mode. If you're in a rebuilding mode, Skip, you got to get him out of there, because he is, no matter how great a talent he is a legit 21-10 guy since he's come into the NBA. Yep. He's 27-11 last year, 27. Last 2 years, he's been all NBA.
Yep.
He's talented, no doubt. But if the Kings, in what they say they're doing, they're rebuilding, he had to go, Skip. If I'm redecorating my house and I got an ugly ottoman, I got to get it up out of there if I'm really redecorating the house. They really redecorating, Boogie had to go. This makes sense for the Pelicans for one reason. It shows that 23-year-old, the guy that just won the All-Star Game MVP, we're trying to win, and we're going to get you some help. Because at the end of the day, that's the guy you got to keep happy. Because if he walks, you can't give enough smoothies away in Smoothie King Center to get people to come see that team play basketball. So the Pelicans, this was a no-brainer. Other than Anthony Davis, you could have had anybody else on my team but Boogie Cousins. They took Langston Galloway, they took the first, they took a second, they took Buddy Hield. That's a no-brainer if I'm the Pelicans.
I got it, but just remember this. DeMarcus Cousins had not tried to talk or act his way out of town. He had said nothing, but even recently, I'm committed for life to Sacramento. I love it here. This is my home. So it wasn't like he was trying to act out, as in act out of town, right?
Skip, the 16 texts. Think about what you're asking the Sacramento Kings to commit to. $209 million over 5 years.
Okay, that's fine.
Here's a guy that has 17 texts. Here's a guy that's lashed out against media members when they write something that he doesn't like. He had
just the Sacramento Bee columnist.
He had a profane-laced tire after they beat Golden State.
He did.
So you're asking an awful lot for a team that knows him. Now, he's been in this organization for 6 years. They know Boogie Cousins frontwards and backwards, and they know things about him that we don't know because it never got out. So they're looking at this from an advantageous situation. And so for them, now I wouldn't have done it, Skip, because that kind of talent, I need more than that. You need to give me you shouldn't have a first round pick until the year 2020. Because I need all of them. I need your 2018, 2019, 2020.
Okay.
I need those first round draft picks if you're going to take this guy off my hands.
So if you're right, if Sacramento says we can't live with $209 million worth of DeMarcus Cousins going forward, then you should make it public you're done with him. Because they did not, all the way up until Friday and Saturday, they're telling the reporters at the All-Star game,
they're gonna keep him.
We're going to keep him. Leave us alone. It's over. We're going to go forward with DeMarcus. You can't play this game that way because...
It doesn't look good going forward now, Skip.
You lie to everybody. You lied to his face.
Yes.
You lied to DeMarcus' face. But in the end, you have to, if you're going to get rid of a talent this big, it doesn't hurt you to auction him off.
Yeah.
You just say, okay, we'll take the best offer on the table at close of business, which would be 3 o'clock Eastern time on Thursday. Come one, come all. We're open. I will bet you somebody would have come with a much better offer than what they took on All-Star game Sunday night.